Let's talk with E Plus to Storyteller. And today we are joined by Chimdi Otor. She is one of our students on E Plus to Storyteller platform. And of course, she has been doing awesomely well. And this session is actually one of our projects. And we're going to be discussing around all that she has, been able to learn during the course of her session. So we have the theme. Chimdi, so can you please introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Chimdito Ibekwe.
Okay. And that's basically Chimdi Ibekwe. We are going to be together with Chimdi Ibekwe. We're going to be looking at the creative space and diplomacy. Now that's within the premise of creative content writing and storytelling. Now I have some premise, let me say some punch highlights, so to speak, highlights. I think we can take them. For you, what comes to mind with respect to this thing? What comes to mind? What's the first thing that comes to mind? What's your thought, so to speak? You have the floor, Chimdi Otor.
When it comes to what?
The theme that we have on ground.
Um,
Okay, so let me stir it up. We have the creative space, which comprises imagination, experimentation, freedom. So if we're going to be like laying down the basics, we have imagination, allowing ideas to flow freely, exploring new concepts and perspectives. So it says allowing ideas to flow. I feel like there is no one who has been born without ideas, because even your everyday life, your everyday living, so to speak, there is one or two things that can inspire your story, from waking up to going down to going to bed, even when you walk on the streets, even when you eat, even when you take a shower, when you have conversations, when you just even stare, when you cite different things. There are so many medium of inspiration, so to speak. So I feel that's what we have our own imaginative prowess, so to speak. We all can imagine things. From your thoughts, you can imagine a scenario, you can begin to imagine even a finished work, a finished product, depending on the context. So these are the creative spaces that we can actually tend to see and observe these dynamics. Imagination, I'll just summarize that imagination is like a default system to every living being, everyone. Then we also have experimentation, trying new styles, genres, and techniques to push boundaries. We have freedom, giving writers the autonomy to express themselves authentically. Now, down to diplomacy, although mentioned here, other highlights we can look at, collaboration, working with others to co-create content, sharing ideas and expertise. So let me start with that. Diplomacy seems, happens to be your forte, so to speak, your area of interest. So how would you like to explain the collaboration aspect? Where do you think there's a meeting point between diplomacy and creative content writing and storytelling, especially within the creative space? Where do you see that collaboration? Now we are coming on the premise of all that you have learned thus far. So where do you see, can you please talk to us about the collaboration between diplomacy within the creative space? Yeah?
Sorry, please can you come again? Diplomacy with the
Within the
network
creative
went off.
space. Okay. Diplomacy
Okay.
within the creative space.
Okay. So diplomacy in the creative sector, it can be looked at in two ways. First of all, diplomacy means being having a good relationship between or among groups. So I'll use an example to explain this part.
Okay.
Diplomacy in creative writing can using or using to
Okay.
that doesn't that doesn't offend any person's belief or tradition or race, being respectful to the audience or the reader.
Okay.
Yeah, then diplomacy in creative writing. The second aspect is writing about diplomacy in a creative way that doesn't, let's say, bore the reader. So
Okay.
writing,
Okay, you can continue. Yeah.
making it engaging for the reader, and the fact that you're trying to make it engaging or look interesting shouldn't mean that you should deviate from the actual um
Yeah.
the use proper vocabularies and diction, and
Yeah.
also ensure that while writing they do not cause a kind of conflict that will stir up
Yeah.
something for the reader. That, let's say for instance, the writer writes about a particular country, making them seem bad or
Yeah.
like in the to others. So it can make that country um to have a conflict with the writer and
Yeah.
want to like approach the writer to confront basically. So
Yeah.
tones, the writer should also ensure that the tones are formal and should also make ensure that he or she knows how to convey their thoughts to the readers, which type of audience is written to, and know how to convey this message properly or adequately without
Yeah.
using too much big words or words that someone cannot understand properly, and not using words that are not um formal or appropriate in the
Yes.
work that he or she is. So maintaining um a formal script, being formal in relaying your message to the audience.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, yeah. There are also different tools which the writer can employ, and the writer can choose to use whichever one he or she feels is the
Yeah.
situation. convey his message or her message. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Chimdio. So thank you for that, you know, expans, expansive explanation, if you like. Now let's look at there's a particular highlight that interests me here, and I would like us to talk about it. That's the area where it talks about, where is it again? Uh, Experimentations and all that. Let's talk about, do you think that in the area of diplomacy that there's enough exploration of creativity within the area of diplomacy, especially when it comes to negotiation? I saw it somewhere. There's a way it's actually expressed here that I love. Good, good. So do you feel there's enough exploration of the storytelling technique within the area of within the premise of diplomacy, using storytelling as a technique to bridge as a, more like storytelling as a bridge builder? Because here it says storytelling as a bridge building, or if you like, storytelling as a bridge builder. So using narratives to connect people, foster understanding, and promote empathy. Um, can you talk more? Can you talk more about that? Because I feel like that's an area that needs to be more explored. Everything in life is not just straight jackets. So there's a way you could actually anchor on creative angles that can make a difference in any narrative. Now, that also includes in diplomacy. So do you think there's enough exploration um, in that light?
Okay, so creative writing being explored, if it is explored properly, right? So there are um some creative works have employed the use of diplomacy. So um your question, is it like diplomatic writing or like
No, more like,
diplomacy, like talking about the
yes. For example, the ongoing crisis now. We have so many ongoing wars, crises, in different nations currently, and all that. So you tend to see a lot of diplomats step in. So now I'm talking about the approaches that they employ. How do you think, you know, in the area of exploring creative writing to actually foster that peace that everyone is looking out for, to foster that peace? Now, you as a journalist, you as a diplomat, you could actually use your articles, you could actually use your contents to conscientize people towards the ills and the downsides of war and crisis. Even in your talks with the different nations where people are making attempts to also foster peace. So I'm looking at, do you think from a creative angle or point of view, this can be explored? Because it's not just about talking. It's not just about having, um, conferences, workshops, seminars, or meetings. It's about the angle, the approach. So I'm looking at within the creative premise, how do you think this can be explored? Where
okay.
creativity complements the entire narrative going forward.
Okay, so diplomacy can okay, sorry. These aspects, as you said, of wars and various things that are happening in the world today, they diplomacy sorry creative writing can be used to uh, can be used to show these things, the effects, the causes, and how they can be solved or tackled. So um things creative works like journals and also stories can be used to show these things, like they can they may prefer to not use the war itself. They can use like a different scene, use that to make um to write on it and also
Yeah,
show its um
yeah,
the causes, the merits, the demerits as well. So yeah, creative writing is not restricted to any part, anything. Is it goes broader, it's very broad. So
yes.
yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that response. So I feel like we should move on. Uh, Now let's look at another highlight that talks about this entire premise that we are on. Where does the role of culture come in terms of cultural exchange, where you have to share stories and perspectives across cultures, promoting mutual understanding and respect? How do you think it can be anchored within the creative space? So how do you think it can be anchored within the creative space? Okay, while we're waiting for Chimdo, so let me go through these highlights that we have here. Um, Pretty interesting highlights too. So I'll take from the beginning, bit by bit. So within the creative space, we have aspect of imagination, allowing ideas to flow freely, exploring new concepts and perspectives. Then we also have experimentation, trying new styles, genres, and techniques to push boundaries. We also have freedom. Now, this is another highlight I find very interesting. We also have freedom. Let's see, we have freedom, and it's explained in an interesting way to giving writers the autonomy to express themselves authentically. Now, I feel like the emphasis here is authentically. Then we have diplomacy under the premise of diplomacy, where these two can meet the creative space and diplomacy, collaboration, working with others to co-create content, sharing ideas and expertise. Then we also have empathy, very, very, very crucial, especially when you're dealing with, we're talking about the human space, you know. Um, so we have understanding diverse perspectives and audiences, tailoring content to resonate. Uh, I think that in our next segment, we're going to be bringing on, uh, more. We're going to be bringing young, but going forward, you'll be seeing young participants, very vast, very outspoken, and they're going to also be sharing their thoughts with us. Just watch out for more sessions like this. Then we have sensitivity, approaching. So are you there? Approaching sensitive topics, care, respect, and cultural awareness. Okay, so I was talking about the cultural exchange. I want us to talk about the cultural exchange, sharing stories and perspectives across cultures, promoting a mutual understanding and respect. What do you have to say about that? I feel like these are punchlines that we can write on. Now, the cultural exchange, when it comes to the intersection between the creative space and diplomacy, we're looking at cultural exchange, sharing stories and perspectives across cultures, promoting mutual understanding and respect. So I want you to elaborate on that.
Okay, cultural exchange. So there are diverse and different cultures.
Okay.
Um, so in creative writing, we create these different cultures by writing um about the culture. It involves the dressing, the way, the language, the various activities
Yeah.
the, that they carry out in their particular places. So they can be um let's say cuisine. There are different creative works on cultural exchange,
Okay.
various or diverse traditions or cultures. Um, there are also different stories or basically different creative works that portray culture, language,
Yeah.
and all that. Yes. So there is not restricted to a particular culture. That's why we can even see or know about other cultures there.
Yeah.
Yes. So the way they speak, their language, their dressing, their is even
Yeah.
there are also like various um movies. I don't know if movies are can they be like counted as creative? They are creative. Yes. So they are visual and also written.
Yeah. Okay. Are you still there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I was actually enjoying your explanation, your elaboration. Yeah.
So yeah, there are different ways, very diverse ways which writers can use to explore culture and show the different cultural
Mm.
values and beliefs and even tradition of various countries and different in different parts of the world. So
Okay.
this can also enable people to know about these things because if they are not written about or spoken about, the the people might not know about them. So it's also proper to explore these parts to enable people to gain more insights from them.
Awesome. Okay. So I think this is a good time for us to talk about the power of creative content writing and storytelling as it influences narratives. Like, I like that you always say that it even goes beyond a particular aspect of life. Yes, you know, that's how, inclusive the narrative of creative content writing and storytelling is. So I want you to discuss generally how, thus far, from all that you've learned, how you see that influence, the influence, how you see it in life generally, within on any premise, within any perspective, within any context, even going beyond diplomacy. Please, can you kindly share with us?
The influence of
Creative content writing and storytelling.
generally, okay,
Yes.
it has had a lot of impact in a lot of um different people's lives, because it opens this it gives room for more knowledge, and to also help people know about things that they've not known or seen or heard before. So,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, like it's also sorry, it's there are some writings that center on morals, what one can learn from the causes or the results of behaving a particular way, doing a particular thing. Um, Also, it's made some creative works also highlight let's say um culture, a lot of a readers knowledge on a lot of things. It also
Yeah.
help elevate their vocabulary to show the readers how the different ways or methods in which writing can come in, or creative works can be in. Um, and some of these works can also serve as motivation for other people to join in creative writing, because
Yeah.
yeah, it can help a lot, even to how to um earn the career path to and a lot of moral in also in the how the way diplomats behave, the work they do, reason for on um, um basically any there are a lot of works on different things. If you want to learn about a particular, you can read about this thing. This is very very broad impact on the life of individual. There are also works on education. If you want to
Yes.
learn about a particular thing, these works can also help to educate the reader on things. So creative writing is not restricted to anything at all.
Yeah.
Happens
Amy, can you come
or
and help
it
charge? This
has
phone is
been
almost going off. No, not you.
has
Continue.
been
Yeah.
so basically almost
Well,
everything that's happened or that
this is
goes
just more.
on earth has been
Yeah.
written down
4%.
in creative writing.
Yeah.
So yeah, creative
This is
is
my.
very crucial topic to explore.
Yeah, Chimdi, thank you so much. Like this has been very insightful. So we can see there's a cross section, between creative content writing and storytelling and other premises, including diplomacy. Diplomacy is your area of interest. And I'll say thus far, you've been following, and I can see that you've really digested every single narrative that, please, can you, so that I can summarize? That we have touched and we have highlighted. Thank you so much for doing justice to the discourse. And of course, we are waiting. We await your book. Yeah, we await your book. Uh, we're going to be looking forward to announcing that. Thank you. Looking forward to announcing that. So I think with all you said, we can just simply summarize and say By combining creative space and diplomacy, writers can craft compelling stories that resonate with diverse audiences, you know, foster empathy and promote understanding. More like bridging gaps, closing vacuums, and also establishing um, identities. Where we're able to close those gaps and close those, give a closure, and of course, fill in those vacuums and also bridge the gaps. Then people can begin to appreciate their uniqueness in diverse ways. That's where the area we are able to understand and embrace other people's identity and not to see ourselves as more superior. Because if you look at the crisis today in the world, it has to do with a lot of me seeing my brother as different from me, or me seeing my brother as more superior. Sometimes we feel our thoughts are more superior than others. So we're not able to come to a round table and discuss and give closure to conversations. Wars do not just start, crises do not just occur. You understand? They are seeds of misunderstanding, misconception. You understand? Misunderstanding, misconception from diverse angles and in different contexts. It could start from just even a minor argument. I do not see eye to eye with your view. We cannot even come to a conclusion despite our differences. You get? That's how war brews. You begin to brew war. People begin to nurse war, and before you know it, if it's not curtailed, it gets out of hand. So I feel that as a storyteller, as a creative content writer, you can actually use your words, your content creatively to begin to bridge those gaps and begin to bring that differentiation to the table. You understand? Because there's something about
Yes.
words. Yes, there's something about words when coined creatively. It will always have that soft landing. You understand? Because there are so many ways you can tell someone that, look, what you're doing is bad without necessarily sounding judgmental or without necessarily condemning one's own position in life. So you're very correct. Absolutely, you're correct. It goes a long way. It goes a long way. The creative content writing and storytelling narrative, I mean, is more diverse. It's more inclusive than we even think. Pictures, words do have that potency to change any narrative for good. And that is why we cannot exhaust this thing. You have done well. Thank you so much for your inputs. So when are we looking forward to seeing that audiobook of yours? Anytime
Before the
soon?
end of this month. Yeah,
Okay,
hopefully before the end.
before the end of the month. Did you say before the end of the month?
No, before. Yes, on or before the end of this month.
Okay, so our audience right now, they're anticipating. That's good. We're going to do this again and we're going to keep everyone posted. This is Chimdi Otoibekwe on the special segment of Meet the Guest with E Plus Storyteller and Let's Talk. So any word before we call it a day? Not like I'm giving an option. You should give us a word. You should give us a word.
Okay,
Yeah.
so as for the uh, creative writing is not restricted to any genre or any particular thing. Is very vast, and we should um we should try to like think have this like vast, how do I put it, like basically just explore, and if
Explore.
right or yes, just explore and don't restrict yourself to any genre, because um if you restrict yourself you might not know or gain knowledge about various other genres that are available in literature.
Thank you so much, Chimdioso Ibikwe. Thank you. You've been so gracious and very helpful. I enjoyed the session, and I'm looking forward to more sessions like this.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that there we have it, our amiable audience, viewers, listeners from wherever you might be watching. We always have great minds like this on E Plus to Storyteller. Chimdi Otoebekwe is an amazing student, very attentive, and her session thus far on the platform has been very refreshing as well. She's really giving and very, I mean, she approaches a session with utmost sense of commitment. Education is part of the discipline we instill too in our students. And she's almost rounding up her session, at least this particular session that she registered for. And I would say she's really doing very well. You know, you can also be a part of this. Just send a DM for more inquiries. And until we come your way again with more refreshing and insightful things, remember, inspiration is the bedrock of creativity. You can always explore yours. The sky is big enough for every one of us to fly. Keep exploring, like Chimdi Oto Ibekwe's just advice. Keep exploring and also keep winning. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. And now I think, I don't know, where do we end? Where do we end? Just hold on. Okay. Yeah.